All right, guys, so it's the beginning of the end. I think it's safe to say it's the beginning of the end. So first, let me show you this. Breaking, the average price of ground beef in the U.S. is now up to a record $6.67 per pound. Prices have surged 72% since January 2020, when they stood at $3.88 per pound. Over the same period, chicken breast prices have risen 36%. Furthermore, coffee prices have surged 52% since January 2020. All while the other food category, which includes sugar, sweets, fats, oils, snacks, and prepared meals, has soared 31% over the same period. Food inflation remains far too high. So here's what the chart looks like, y'all. This is political death for the regime. This is people fucking hating you and being furious. And this is a 35% approval rating. This is what you're looking at. This right here says it all, 35% approval rating. But it gets worse, because not only is inflation going up and unemployment going up, which we talk about on a regular basis on this show, but we also have now stuff like this happening. Ready? Europe may begin selling U.S. assets in response to a new conflict with the U.S., a move that could trigger a dollar collapse, Bloomberg reports. Deutsche Bank analysts warn Washington's key vulnerability is living off global financing, and Europe may decide it no longer wants to bankroll the U.S. Okay. Breaking. The Danish pension fund announced they will sell all U.S. treasuries by month end, citing rising credit risk under Trump. The fund's CIO says U.S. finances are no longer sustainable due to weak fiscal discipline, a softer dollar, and Trump's push for Greenland. In other words, fuck you, we don't like you, you're not good to your word, you're psychopaths, and you got $40 trillion in debt. We're no longer going to pick up the slack here for you. Sorry, we're going to dump U.S. treasuries, which would only lead to a further debt crisis here in the U.S. I don't know, maybe it wasn't a good idea to go around threatening to fucking steal Greenland. Maybe that wasn't a good idea. Maybe there were fucking real-world consequences to that. By the way, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was asked, hey, what are you doing to prepare for the retaliation from Europe over Trump's threats to Greenland? And he goes, they're not going to retaliate. Again, that's how stupid these people are. Guys. They are actually dumbasses. They are actually stupid. There is no smart person in control here. These idiots genuinely thought, oh, he's going to threaten to steal Greenland, and there's going to be no response from Europe. They're just going to be like, okay. No, they immediately do stuff like dump U.S. treasuries. Oh, my God. China is still dumping U.S. treasuries. China's holdings of U.S. government bonds dropped $6.1 billion in November to $682.6 billion, the lowest since September 2008. In the midst of the financial crisis, China has now sold $76.4 billion of treasuries since the start of 2025. Since the 2013 peak, the country's treasury holdings have fallen $634.1 billion, nearly half the total. Furthermore, there's growing evidence that we can't track China's U.S. treasury purchases through Belgium anymore. So again, this is a crisis here, what we're talking about. The U.S. dollar is now down over 10% since Trump became president. Over 10%. Now, by the way, the conspiracy brain of mine goes, what if he actually wants the dollar to collapse? Because then him and Peter Thiel and all of his billionaire asshole Epstein-class buddies can go in and buy everything up on the cheap and make everybody a total slave peasant to themselves. That's the conspiracy brain. Oh, are you trying to manufacture the dollar collapsing to buy everything up on the cheap? It's very possible. It is very possible. But then again, what you're doing there is electoral suicide is what you're doing. This was yesterday, just in, over $1.3 trillion wiped out from the U.S. stock market today. Now, as of me recording this, it has gone up a little bit, probably because Trump said, I'm not going to steal Greenland. So he had to go out to try to calm the waters. He said that this morning. So the stock market stabilized a little bit today. But again, I think this is all just temporary. I think the trajectory is definitely going to be down because the world doesn't fucking trust us. We're the asshole. We're the pieces of shit. We're the ones that everybody hates. We spit in everybody's eye, we smack them across the face, and then we demand loyalty from them. They're not going to fucking play around like that anymore. That's why Canada is now making trade deals with China right in front of our eyes. The Canadian Prime Minister gives a speech. We just watched it where he's like, yeah, it's over. America's done. Let's fuck them. Let's leave them in the past. Let's not mourn the order of old. Ray Dalio warns of capital wars against the U.S. Billionaire investor Ray Dalio warns that President Trump's policies could trigger capital wars as countries and investors reduce exposure to U.S. assets. Speaking in Davos, Dalio said rising trade tensions and fiscal deficits risk eroding trust in U.S. debt, potentially driving investors toward hard assets like gold, which he recommends as a key hedge. So this is a point I've made as well. When you have a situation like we're currently in, where eventually the dollar is going to be dropped as the world reserve currency, I think within my lifetime for sure, you either need to like diversify and invest in other currencies, or do that and get precious metals. Because that's what's probably going to happen, is they're going to revert back to precious metals like gold as, you know, the currency that everybody shares. But there's also a pretty severely limited supply of that stuff, so they might end up using the Chinese currency as the world reserve currency. I don't know exactly how it's going to unfold, but just having dollars is not safe anymore. You want to have multiple different currencies and precious metals because, I mean, the world is already basically showing us, like, you're so crazy, we're going to try to get away from you as fast as we can. And then finally we get this. Is your income keeping up with inflation? Only 24% say yes, it is in this country. I mean, look, I know it sounds corny, but I mean it. Fucking midterms can't come soon enough, and 2028 can't come soon enough, and Trump's various ailments can't kick into high gear soon enough, because this is the trajectory that we're on is genuinely beyond devastating. We are setting up immense pain that Trump won't even be around for. He's not even going to be alive to experience the consequences of his actions. And isn't that the ultimate story of malignant narcissists throughout history? That they get that little taste of power, they overreach, they're incredibly authoritarian, they leave everything in ruins, and they're not even around to deal with the fallout of all of their fucking horribly stupid decisions. But, I mean, shame not only on Trump, but shame on all of the Republicans who this entire time are still in the Kool-Aid drinking, fascist, terrorist death cult. None of them have woken up. None of them have told them the truth. None of them have tried to steer the ship in the right direction. They're all total fucking pussies. And the Democrats are sitting in the corner in the cuck chair and watching Trump destroy the country and refusing to fight. They're saying, hey, you guys voted for this? Go ahead. You can have it. Right? And it seems like nobody's out there fighting for us. And now you have the clearest sign yet from the world and from the economy and from the market that it's over, bro. It is over. It's just, now we just need to deal with the fallout and watch how bad it's going to get. But I see no way out of this shit.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.